Anyway, what are we going to talk about now?
Maybe you could clear up a little ambiguity as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, all through this week, in both the Sama Yoga in the morning and also the evening talks, you've made great emphasis on being Hara-centered. According to the Bhagavad Gita, they've got different points as regards to fixing the life air, and also the
Fixing what, mate?
The life's air.
Right.
And also the point of concentration, being different from the hara.
Yeah.
I quote one instance from chapter 8, must be anyway. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses,
right.
Fixing the life air, fixing the mind and the heart, and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. That's just one quote. But I can't see any reference. I'm not don't get me wrong, I'm not deriding you at all. But I just want to know what your opinion is on the fact, the different points of concentration.
Very good point. Confusing, isn't it, mate? Happily, I've been through all these confusions years ago. Anything else?
I throw in an allied point. It's to do with pranayama, really. To quote from Proverbs, it says, "The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts."
Would you mind saying that loudly, please, Keith?
The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all his innermost parts. And the commentary says that spirit, in fact, they use the word breath.
Yeah. Ruach.
Not in this case using this sama, but it does mean breath.
Is this Hebrew?
I believe so, yes. It might be an alternative word.
No. Anything else, friends?
Yeah. Is empathy a natural consequence of right awareness?
Must be.
It should be, but awareness can have a kind of cold feeling to it sometimes. A kind of a feeling of detachment and not being tuned into other people. Anyway, I throw that in.
Anything else, friends?
We're going to say something a little more about the woman at the well.
Well, I don't know. I'm inclined to try and deal with Mike's point, which is quite an important one. It's confusing, isn't it, Mike? Maybe we ought to add just a little bit more about the woman at the well. Just a little bit more. I was a bit tired the other night. Could have contracted things a bit better. Let me say this, that the ancient world experienced quite amazing, when we think about it now, quite amazing migrations of ancient peoples. And they took with them, of course, their language, their culture, their literature, their stories, their mythology, their religion. They also took with them their place names. And example of place names being transported even in the modern world, isn't there? Now, the ancient Aryan migrations made the Aryan people extensively influential and dominant wherever they went. Now, obviously there is tremendous significance between the polarization, the contrast, and the contact between male and female, man and woman. It's expressive of the cosmos itself. Born of light, there emerges mind and substance. Substance forms a polarity with the causal light, and the interaction between the two fosters, ferments, and brings growth to the things that are born in and through the material visible universe. Matter. Matter has a sacred origin. Matter is born of light just as everything else is. All things are manifestations of ultimate truth. All things are born of the uncreated light. But nature has so organized itself that the interaction between sun and earth is profoundly expressive of the organic reality that life, fruitfulness, development, evolution is a consequence of a fusion of polarities. A fusion of the sun and the earth and or moon. The ancient goddesses who represented moon also represented earth. Which is interesting because somehow ancient intelligence perceived that moon and earth were inextricably connected, and that just as earth was born of the sun, so was the moon born of the earth. Now, it's a fact of life that fruitfulness occurs, transformation occurs, growth occurs through the blending of opposites, the merging of opposites. Hence the great significance in terms of species, in terms of the cosmos itself, of the merging of light and substance. ultimately, all things are born of light. The ultimate explosion of light from which the universe emerged. Our alchemy, take Christianity. No religion is more occult, essentially, than Christianity. Quite rightly, Christianity eschews the occult. Christianity puts a ban on anything to do with the supernatural, quite rightly. Yet Christianity, here is the paradox, is par excellence the world religion. I'm not talking about factions such as Tantra, but the world religion which is occult. It is alchemy. It is about transformation, about miraculous transformation, about transmutation of substances, about transubstantiation. And in the history of the early church, there are enough ancient stories about the incredible for us to think that some of them may well have, probably did have, some basis in reality. The paranormal does exist. And Christianity par excellence is about transformation, transmutation. It is alchemy. The Eucharist is about alchemy. It's not just a symbol. The fact that our priests are not alchemists means, I use this in the very broadest sense, means they do not comprehend, can only view symbolically the essentials of transformation, transubstantiation. You know, we touched on something last night. And if we take the three most titanic spiritual figures known to history, Krishna, Buddha, and Jesus. I think what can be perceived is that all is evolving. That which evolves is substance, the organic. Substance expressing the current of light, of power, of pran, pulsing through it. And substance is relative to light, which is spirit. Substance is yin. The power, the primal power, is yang. And it's the interplay of these, the cosmic love story, which produces all the effects and all the organisms that manifest in evolution. Now, particularly, it is the feminine that evolves. The organic is the feminine, whether you're a male or a female. from this point of view. All things are relative, of course. All things have their negative and positive aspects. But from this broad cosmic view, it is the organic that's the feminine. It is the inner soul that is the yin. Now, the greatest beings, the higher planes, the devas, the very advanced souls, throughout the whole story of the human race have been striving to incarnate, striving for expression. They can only incarnate insofar as the human organism has evolved to a degree that permits the containment of this tremendous force in the human body, in the human entity, the human corpus. Essentially, the most important thing is the evolution of the mother. And when nature has evolved a being great enough to be the mother of Avatar, then Avatar can manifest. In the case of Krishna, there's a curious conundrum. Krishna, it is said, was an incarnation of Vishnu, but not the only incarnation of Vishnu, because his brother Balaram was also an incarnation of Vishnu. Two personalities. Balaram was a sort of half a twin of Krishna. There's a very strange, mysterious story about embryo changing wombs and goodness knows what else, which no doubt has a meaning that we won't try and go into tonight. But what it means is, I think, that Vishnu, in order to save the world, and goodness knows what pressures there were on evolution at that time that necessitated the incarnation of the Avatar. In order to do so, had to be born to two mothers. One was not sufficient to contain the Avatar as a single being. The Avatar was two beings, both called an incarnation of Vishnu. One called Krishna, the other called Balaram, his half-brother. Now this is interesting, because as far as I'm aware, not one word of wisdom is attributed to Balaram. All that is said about Balaram is this amiable and very personable fellow ambles through the old myths holding a jar, perpetually holding a jar, from which he constantly takes swigs and is rollicking along in a way very reminiscent of Dionysus. Yes? Very reminiscent of Dionysus. Krishna also frolics, especially in his younger life, but when he comes to preach wisdom, he is stating the ultimate. He is speaking as spirit, the Buddhic level. What it amounts to is, it seems to me, Balaram represents the divinized, instinctual level of intelligence. Krishna represents the Buddhic level of intelligence. each is valid. There is such a thing as the instinctual level of intelligence. There is such a thing as the Buddhic level of intelligence. This is the heaven level. This is the earth level. This is the moon. Now, sun, earth, moon. And what it amounts to is that the earth had not yet sufficiently evolved one human being, one mother, who was capable of giving birth to one being in whom there was the Buddhic and the instinctual perfectly fused. It's interesting, the mother of Krishna was named Devaki, the divine one. And she was said to be an incarnation of Aditi. Aditi, mother of the universe, whose name means, more or less, indefinite expansion. Now, Krishna and his brother were very close companions. And I think what it is telling us is that the divinized aspect of the instinctual level is the companion and is the servant of the Buddhic level. The two must function together. Many great saints have transcended and negated and virtually eliminated the instinctual level. On the other hand, vast masses of humanity, and herein lies the failure of spiritual evolution. Vast masses of humanity have failed to rise above the instinctual level. Hence, human intelligence being trapped within matter, trapped within the instinctual level of expression. Therefore, it was necessary in the ancient world to emphasize negation of the instinctual level in order to achieve liberation of human intelligence from entrapment within the material, that which is dominated and governed by the instinctual level. Now, there's one tantric teaching in which Queen Maya is, you see, there are two aspects. There are two major strands of tradition in ancient India. There's the Vedic, leading to Vedanta, and there's the Tantric. Now, the consensus opinion is there were two ancient races, and the Tantra, of which Hatha Yoga is an aspect, the Tantra derived from the ancient Dravidian peoples, who it is generally thought were the more indigenous inhabitants of ancient India. Darkish, stocky, Mediterranean type people. They were Caucasian, of the Mediterranean type. And the Aryans, in their typical form, were more the Nordic type, big, blondie types with battle axes, very good with chariots and horses. Now, Tantra, it is said, in its essence, derives from the Dravidian tradition, very ancient, and the Vedanta more from the Aryan people. Vedanta is concerned in its bias with renunciation and transcendence, and has a doctrine of Maya, which you've undoubtedly come across since you've read Bhagavad Gita. Tantra also teaches Maya, but has a different version of Maya. Vedanta teaches Maya as cosmic illusion, virtually. Everything is merely an appearance. You must cut through the mere appearances and find the reality that is beyond the appearances. Our understanding, our consciousness is trapped, deceived by Maya. Maya must die. We must get out of Maya. Tantra has another view. They teach not Maya as cosmic illusion, but Maya as cosmic power, cosmic Shakti. And they express Maya as a goddess. Now, in this tantric view, Queen Maya is the Queen of Heaven, and properly related to, rightly perceived, is wholly benign and will lead to liberation. One is the way of renunciation, away from the earth, away from matter. The other is the way of advancing into matter and embracing the earth and the cosmic power. In the last century, an enormous stride was made in fusing the two traditions in the personality of Ramakrishna Paramahansa.
This is this chap.
No, that is Ramana. Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who worshipped the goddess, the Maya. Now all this is a little bit confusing. What does it mean? What does it mean? I'll tell you one thing, it seems to me. When the Buddha was born, he was born to a lady called Queen Maya. And if anyone penetrated and transcended the illusions of the earth and the world and the entanglements of matter, it was Buddha, with great wisdom. bringing salvation in one form to the world. When the Buddha was born, there was born a being who was a perfect balance of the Buddhic level of intelligence and the instinctual level of intelligence, but with a bias towards ascent. To try and get the hang of it, we need to look mythologically at a very ancient early story. It's a very complicated story, so we're not going into it in detail. Vivasvat, the rising sun, is the father of the first man. Named Manu. A word which means the man. Now, the word Manu derives from manas, meaning thinking being. Neuter gender. Therefore, our word man is neuter gender, and in the sense we should be using it, is a collective noun, covering both genders. Yeah. It's a pity that this objection to the word man has crept in, because it deprives us of the use of the term as a collective noun, which it has always been. Now, Manu was the first man. Having said that, he wasn't the first man. He had, like Krishna, a semi-twin brother. We won't go into the complex story. The first man born was Yama. And Yama, there's a whole mythology about Yama. Yama projects his own other half, as Manu projects his own other half. So there's Yama and Yami, his sister wife, and there's Manu and Mani, his sister wife. Yes? Now, Yami says to Yama, come on Yama, we've got to start the human race. We must procreate. Yama says, oh no, that's not for me. No, thank you very much. I was born as a son. I'm the great child of the light. That's where I belong. I am not getting involved in this procreation business in which the light, the power of the sun interacts with the earth. That's not the way. So Yama died, leaving Yami barren. We won't go into the story of Yami. Now, he was the first man to die. Now, the significance there. What Yama did as the first man to die was, as it's put in the Rig Veda hymns, he carved a pathway by which all humanity that were to follow, all worthy humanity that were to follow, could find their way to the light. And there's this ancient concept that, according to the light within you, so you go close or not so close to the light when you die. So the greatest beings return to a place prepared for them by Yama, and he carved the pathway, and he rules over those who were born of the sun and are worthy to return to. Now Yama, I strongly suspect, due to Greek influence, the Greeks were great syncretists, and Greek influence caused the Greeks all over the place to equate local pantheons with their own preferred Greek pantheon. And Yama was equated, I'm sure, by the Greeks with Pluto. And that led to his association with the Lord of the Underworld, the Lord of Death. That's completely false. If you look at the original Rig Veda hymns, Yama goes to prepare a place for those who are worthy to return to the light. He creates the pathway that enables the ascension of the soul after death. Manu was different. Manu said, okay, Mani, we'll start the human race. As it is expressed, Manu was the first to undertake the sacrifice, meaning the Soma sacrifice, showing, one of the ways it is showing that the intrinsic meaning of the Soma sacrifice is linked with the divinization of the senses and the divinization of the earth itself. The Manu advanced into the earth, embraced the earth, and Yama was lord of, it said the dead, but that's not the right way to express it. Rama is lord of the transcended ones. And Manu is lord of the living. And in the old mythology, they are both called king. It's King Yama and King Manu. Manu is the incarnating impulse, the involving from the light down into matter, embracing matter, empowering matter with the capacity to evolve and become more. Yama is the evolutionary, the ascending impulse. The two exist in human beings. Yes? Buddha is the transcendental. Before the Christ can come, the world must be initiated into the impulse of transcendence, reaching up, going beyond. Evolution can only occur when human intelligence is not entrapped at the instinctual level. Hence you had the emergence of orders of monks, orders of nuns, hermits, those who switched off totally from the physical. And that was a necessary phase because human intelligence had become trapped in matter and evolution was run down. And the avatars come in order to explode and create pathways so that the human race can proceed. Within the human being, there should be these channels for both the incarnating light into matter and the transcending light. Christ embraced the earth, empathized with the suffering earth. Christ, as it said, went down into hell, harrowed hell, and then resurrected. Created a tremendous pathway through which further progress for humanity became possible. To do that, he had to identify with hell. He had to know what hell was in the fullness of experience. In so doing, he changed hell. He changed the capacity of the human being to be able to endure and to resist and to go beyond, reach beyond the level of hell, into what should be. As he said, I come that ye should have life and have it abundantly. Now, at different phases of evolution, there have been different emphases of spiritual teaching, haven't there? And like you, I find all this very confusing. The first thing I ever discovered in yoga was this man, Ramana, who gave up the teaching of the heart. Wonderful it was. When I discovered the teaching of Ramana, I thought, aged 18, I had discovered everything I needed to know. It was meaningful. It was effective. It was powerful.
This was the one that Paul Bunting wrote about, was it?
That's right. It worked. As it happens, I seem to find meditation rather easy. There are three influences affecting human intelligence and development. Two of them we constantly hear about. And No one has made up their mind about which is which and what is what or how is how. There is, of course, genetic endowment, and there is the environmental impact. Broadly speaking, Marxism attributed everything to environment. Change the environment, get the environment right, and humanity will make great progress. Alas, not as easy as that. Not as simple as that. Undoubtedly, the genes are profoundly meaningful. But yoga would say there is a third factor, and that is the samskaras. Do you know what the samskaras are? Yeah. Well, all experience that the soul undergoes is registered in the unconscious mind, is registered as not just a memory, but an energy that is a formation within the unconscious mind, a sort of rivulet within the unconscious mind. And the prodigious pattern of these interweaving, interknit pockets of energy within the unconscious are the samskaras.
So,
They are thought registered deep in the unconscious. And the samskaras generate energy, which is karma, destiny, that which must be done. Karma derives philologically from kri, to do. The energy of the samskaras generates the karma, which generates the dharma. The higher potential that the individual must follow according to his karma. From the samskaras we get the ego. Projected from the samskaras, the ego, according to its karma, will be given a body and an environment, and so you have the fusing of the three. Yes?
suitable, I mean, from a previous life, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
From many, many previous lives. The accumulation of your experience builds up your samskaras, which are a force, an energy, that projects your ego. And your ego has to live through your karma. And your karma should be fulfilled through your dharma. Yes? Now, it's a wonderful thing when you discover that meditation is easy. You then realize that there are no problems that cannot be overcome. There is the experience of something you've never known before. the peace that passes understanding, when you go the way of the heart. That's how it seems, that's how it appears, until nature takes you by the scruff of the neck and says, down you go there, sonny boy. And you'll be kicked around like a bloody football and see where your inward turning and the way of the heart and all that stuff, see how much reality there is in that. And I can say from some experience, I went through infantry corps training with literally Bhagavad Gita in one hand grenade in the other. And, the adolescent psyche found all this a bit confusing. But I'm grateful to the army. And I often speak of it because it's in the army that I was shocked into various traumatic realizations that had to be faced. It was in the army I discovered meditation, I discovered yoga, and I was practicing meditation for 2 years before I did a single posture. I was misled by certain mainstream Raja Yoga Vedanta people, very sincere and right. Along the lines of, the world is transient, the world is not real. Find the real, find the inner truth, transcend. You have only this little incarnation, do not waste it on anything except spiritual realization. Do not get enmeshed in the world. I was a real sucker for that. And it's not wrong, but it belongs to a former age. An age when life was very different. Mainstream Raja Yoga teaching, if followed through, will lead us to a virtual amputation of consciousness from the physical. It can be done.
Or even today.
It can be done. A virtual amputation of consciousness from the physical, given the best conditions, given the mountaintop, given the forest hermitage, given no intruding people to disturb your hypersensitive state of transcendental calm. No. That was all I wanted to do when I was in the middle of the British Army. Find the highest mountaintop possible and off I go, and I want nothing else to do with this world. Thank you very much. And nature has other intentions. Nature says you will become a teacher. Nature says before you become a teacher, you must go through a range of experience consistent with what needs to be taught in the here and now. Not the Dharma of 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, or even 1,000 years ago. We live in unique circumstances now. Now, what it amounts to is that, as I've said often enough, for me, yoga begins and ends with Ramana. It begins and ends with the way of the heart. But I found the way of the heart was not sufficient to enable the individual to cope with what nature was throwing at it in the maelstrom of the world as we know it now, in which we, through karma, are required to live, and which everyone else by the million is living. Now, if you meditate successfully, you will become hypersensitive. And you will also experience, maybe, transcendental peace. You're powerful, very powerful. Anyone who can truly meditate is very powerful. All that happens in human affairs is primarily on the unconscious level. The reasons, the whys, the wherefores, the environmental factors are nothing compared with the forces active in the unconscious. As we awaken, the unconscious ceases progressively to be unconscious. We see into it and through it, and it reveals what needs to be known. Now, here is then the dilemma. You've tasted the peace that passes understanding. That's what you want, that's what you want to return to. Nature says, no, you don't, sonny boy. Life is not like that. And you must experience what life is not like. Literally, as a broad generalization. Didn't happen to Ramana, but he's quite an exception. As a broad generalization, the way of initiation lies in realizing hell before you reach heaven. The descent must occur before the resurrection. That's the archetypal pattern. Now, here then is the problem. The way of the heart doesn't work. I tried to maintain heart-centeredness, but the more you do that, you're affirming power. Now this is something that not everyone has appreciated. Even Krishnamurti seemed to think that if you can manifest a higher vibration rate, things will solve themselves of their own accord. Not so. What happens if you manifest a powerful, non-personal vibration? Nature, the environment, the subconscious around you will react, will rebound. And you will have strong effects.
This is when you come from now.
Yes. You will have strong effects both ways. Both ways. And the more powerful you are, the more all hell will attack you. Fact. Fact. Now, this is a learning process. Nature is telling us something. Keeping heart-centered didn't work. You turned inwards, but you were not connecting with the external world. You could not do what was being demanded of you, effectively. I had to abandon meditation for several years and concentrate on becoming a reasonable, sensible, efficient, capable, trustworthy individual, which I did become. Didn't I, Liz? Even Liz will say so. Now, but I had to let go of the way of the heart. Then personal crises intervene. And you're forced back into the way of the heart, but it's not really the way. And I did not manage that integration until I discovered Hara. And Hara is the way of anchoring into the energies of the earth and at the same time maintaining awareness and effectiveness in action. You with me?
Yes.
Now, the way of transcendence is a preparatory, a preliminary thing. The bias of the Buddha, the bias of Yama, the bias of away from the earth has to be in order to set free that ascending impulse and release consciousness from entrapment in the physical. Then the incarnating aspect can manifest. Then Manu. Christ was the Manu. He said so many times, the Son of Man. If you look at the learned commentators, they really don't know what it means. In fact, you read the Penguin commentary on Luke, and the learned author will tell you they don't really know what's meant by the Son of Man. We can tell them it means the Manu. And who was the Manu? The son of the rising sun. And in chapter 2 of Luke, is it? Or chapter 1? In the vision of Zacharias, what does he say? He looks at the pregnant Mary and he says, "The rising sun has come among us." How about that? Anatoly, rising sun. He's saying that the Christ is the son of the rising sun. Isn't that interesting? Now, the Christ was this complete manifestation, born of the Blessed Virgin, born of the Theotokos. And until the Theotokos had been evolved, neither Buddha nor Christ could come. You with me? So, what you require, what nature requires in the here and now, is the holistic approach to yoga. Not negation, and certainly not obsessive, indulgent embracing. But the balance, that balance between the two, realizable through partly what one might call Zen, that causes the instinctual level to be suffused by, interpenetrated by, transformed by the Buddhic level, by the descent of spirit into substance. Spirit, as Keith said, spirit is inherent in the breath. Hence the particular importance of the fusion of awareness and pranayama, the fusion of meditation and breathing in affecting that transformation of the total organism. In the process, you will greatly enhance the efficiency of the immune system. This is the holistic approach, simply stated. Now, in our time, what's wrong with modern humanity? We're all up here. Tremendous babble of pressure and confusion in the head. We are not relating to the earth, and we must relate to the earth. The earth is the mother of all things, of all organic things. We must have this harmony between the light and the earth. So, it's counterproductive to meditate in our time on the head. There's enough energy going into the head. There's an ancient Raj Yoga teaching. When you focus your concentration, nothing below the navel. Broadly speaking, that's right. There's enough energy goes in down there to cause confusion ad infinitum in human consciousness. The hara is basically here. Now we have to fuse the two. The first stage in development is to realize the opening of the heart. Then there's insight. Then you know, so you have some inkling of what potentiality is possible. But nature will not let us say in the here and now, here I go, off up the mountaintop. No. All of us now are here to work and serve. And we must do it with the equipment we are supplied with. First, the organism we inhabit. Second, the environment of which we are part. And we must respond effectively and creatively to the demands that karma brings to our feet. Now, what we need then is this fusion of hara and heart. In the Japanese system, they don't want to know too much about the heart. And to breathe opening the chest and all that is ego inflation. You don't want that.
This is good in Japanese.
Yeah. To breathe and open the chest, it's inflating the ego. This is the Chinese view. It's all down here. We, through experience, do both. We root in the hara and we open the heart. And seek, in the process, to be self-forgetting. Self-forgetting while rooted in the earth and attuned to the Buddhic level, from which comes insight, and from insight comes wisdom. And from wisdom comes what we need to know in the here and now. And wisdom is beauty. And beauty is truth, and truth is love. All is one. Time for tea. Somewhere along the line, having come to Ramana, after 2 years or so, we realised the body demands attention. The body must be made fit. I was once a little bit of an athlete, and so in exercise terms, I could do the Western stuff. And I had been with the Army Physical Training Corps, and I had been with the Commandos, and I had been with a few other things. I sort of understood the nature of physical activity in their context. The ideas of fitness. what I found was I could not equate Western style physical exercise with meditation. Always the stress factor in Western style physical exercise militated against the sattvic condition that yoga could produce. If you felt tranquil at one time, do a bit of physical exercise, you're no longer so tranquil. You've lost it. You've lost it. Then I did discover Hatha Yoga. I found that I had to work on it because I wasn't naturally supple. But I found through Hatha Yoga you could do a physical activity that did not militate against the balance of body, mind and spirit. And it's essential that you keep the body in good working order. I talked to umpteen very worthy gentlemen in yellow robes when I was younger. Little fat men, decadent physically. We have to be holistic. We have to ask, what is health? What is real health? There can be no real health without spiritual attunement, without insight into the things of the spirit. If there's not that, we will not have this balance of body, mind and spirit. Now, okay, after that, we found the hara thing. And having established the hara thing, we were able to return to meditation and develop sensitivity without losing stability. So, with one exception, never put your focus of attention there. The focus of your attention is primarily the heart. But the energy of awareness through exercise, through motion, through yoga as we do it, the energy of attention will note that the hara is being activated and thereby bring about that fusion of hara and heart, which can produce the divinization of the instinctual level, which is what Soma is all about. When you come to the tantric thing, you're up against, something new. The 7 major centers, aren't you? The Kundalini, the chakras and all that stuff. And the tantric people will tell you the highest center is here, and you must work up progressively through your several centers until you reach there. You think, well, where am I? Ramana says it's the heart. The Zen people say it's here, the belly. Where are you? What on earth do you make of it? The answer is, I'm sure, forget the head. And perceive the deeper center as being primarily the heart. But the hara is your action mode that you cannot ignore, just as you cannot and do not ignore the body. But when the time comes, be prepared to let the body go.